The UK's countryside and ancient towns are steeped in dark folklore, with forgotten lanes holding the secrets of the past. These places are home to restless spirits and chilling tales that continue to haunt the present. 1. New College Lane. Oxford's New College Lane is steeped in both academic tradition and dark folklore. This narrow cobblestone passage is often cloaked in mist, especially in the early hours. The most infamous tale involves a brilliant but tormented scholar named Thomas Fenwick, who tragically took his life after an academic dispute spiraled into obsession. His spirit is said to linger, unable to find peace. Students often report seeing a shadowy figure walking the lane at night, a figure that seems to vanish just as they approach. Those who dare walk the lane alone claim to hear faint whispers and the distant echo of an old lecture, as if Thomas's mind is still trapped in his final moments. On rare nights, the air grows unnaturally cold, and some claim they feel the brush of invisible hands or hear their own name whispered from the darkness, drawing them closer to the spirit of the troubled scholar. Some even claim that if you leave a book near the archway at midnight, it will be mysteriously flipped open to a page that matches a long-forgotten lecture, one that Thomas used to give before his untimely death. 2. Meeting House Lane. In the heart of Brighton, Meeting House Lane is an unassuming street, lined with charming shops and pubs. Yet beneath its welcoming exterior lies a dark secret. The lane's haunting began in the 17th century, when it was a center for religious dissenters. During a particularly brutal winter, a group of these dissenters were executed for their beliefs in a public display of power by the local authorities. Now, their spirits are said to haunt the lane, restless and angry. Locals report hearing soft, indistinct murmurs as they walk along the street, as though a crowd is following them, whispering words just beyond comprehension. Some claim the whispers grow louder, sometimes even shouting accusations against the living, as if trying to seek vengeance for the past. On rare occasions, visitors have been grabbed by unseen hands, pulling them into the darkness before releasing them with a forceful shove. The most disturbing part is the overwhelming sense of being watched. Many claim to feel eyes on them from the buildings above, yet when they look up, there is no one there. As the whispers grow more frantic, it feels as if the spirits themselves are still caught in the struggle for freedom that once marked the lane. 3 Gypsy Lane in Suffolk has earned its sinister reputation not just for its remote location, but for the dark history entwined with the place. For centuries, it was said to be the site where Romani travelers were persecuted, blamed for the mysterious deaths and disappearances of villagers. The vengeful spirits of these Romani souls are said to roam the lane, seeking justice for the crimes committed against them. It is said that at night, those who walk the path are followed by the sound of hollow footsteps. Some have claimed to see pale, emaciated figures in the periphery of their vision, watching with hollow eyes, while others say they have been pulled off the lane by invisible hands. A chilling legend speaks of a dark-eyed figure that appears at the end of the lane at midnight. If you lock eyes with this figure, they will whisper your darkest secret before vanishing into thin air. Several reports have also surfaced of strange lights flickering in the trees, as though someone or something is watching from the shadows. A feeling of unease often settles over travelers, and those who linger too long often feel a tug on their clothing, as if the past is trying to pull them into its cursed embrace. 4. Carpenter's Lane. Hadlow's Carpenter's Lane seems like a quaint, rural street at first glance, but its dark history is tied to the tragic fate of one of its former residents. In the 1800s, a local carpenter named Samuel Ward was blamed for a fire that destroyed much of the village. He was falsely accused of arson, and in his despair, he swore revenge against those who condemned him. After being found guilty, he vanished one night, never to be seen again, though his presence remains. Locals tell of hearing the rhythmic sound of a saw or hammer in the dead of night, echoing through the lane, as if Samuel is still building something, perhaps a bridge from the world of the living to the dead. Some even claim to see the shadow of a man in a long coat walking along the lane at dusk, hammering something into the ground. The air becomes unnaturally cold when he passes by, and an overwhelming feeling of dread sets in. The most terrifying reports describe a heavy knocking sound that echoes from the walls of the buildings nearby, as if Samuel himself is still trying to finish his work and complete the final blueprint for his twisted revenge. Those who have stayed too long often report hearing a voice that asks them to help complete the work. 5. Shaw Green Lane. Shaw Green Lane in Prestbury is known for its unearthly quiet and its chilling association with a deathly event that occurred long ago. During the 16th century, a man named Edward Shaw was murdered by a band of thieves as he made his way down the lane. His body was dumped in the nearby woods, and it is said his restless spirit has haunted the lane ever since. Legend has it that at twilight, the lane is shrouded in an eerie mist, and the sounds of footsteps following you can be heard, though no one is there. The apparition of a man, dressed in ragged clothes, is often spotted standing at the edge of the woods, watching silently. On particularly dark nights, the air is thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the crackling of invisible footsteps closing in behind you. Many say the man's ghost is looking for his killers, forever seeking justice but never finding it. Locals claim that the sound of footsteps is not just the echo of the past, but the real presence of Edward himself, drawing closer with each step. Some even believe that the closer you get to the woods, the more likely you are to be followed by his mournful figure, trying to communicate from beyond. 6. Tyrrell's Lane. In the heart of the New Forest, Tyrrell's Lane is not just haunted by the spirits of the past, but also by something far darker, an entity known only as the Grinning Beast. Its origins are unknown, though one theory suggests that it is the manifestation of a cursed hunter who died in the woods centuries ago. Those who wander Tyrrell's Lane in the dead of night are often greeted by the sound of distant howling, though the creature itself is never seen clearly. Some say they glimpse a pair of glowing eyes in the underbrush, and others have claimed to see a grinning face watching them from the shadows. The air grows oppressively still, and no matter how quickly one walks, the sounds of heavy footsteps seem to follow. The creature's grin is described as terrifying, its teeth sharp and its eyes glinting with malevolence. Some who have encountered it describe a sudden, overwhelming sense of terror, as though something ancient and hungry is watching, waiting, and deciding whether to pounce. A terrifying coldness settles into the bones, leaving travelers in a state of panic that has driven more than one to flee, never looking back. 7. Shady Lane. Shady Lane in Evington carries the weight of a haunting from a long-forgotten tragedy. In the early 1800s, a plague struck the village, killing many children in its wake. The bodies were hastily buried along the lane, and their souls, never properly laid to rest, have remained in the area ever since. On foggy nights, the sound of children's laughter, playful yet hollow, can be heard echoing down the lane. It is said that if you walk down Shady Lane on a quiet evening, you may feel a tug at your sleeve, a cold touch from invisible hands, or hear the faintest whisper of a child calling your name. Locals say that the souls of the children will never leave until they are properly acknowledged, and they will haunt the lane until the last living soul remembers their tragedy. The feeling of being followed is overwhelming, and the sounds of the children's voices grow more insistent the longer you stay. Some claim to see the fleeting silhouettes of small figures in the mist, playing games in the distance before vanishing without a trace. It's said that if you stay too long, you might be led astray by the children's ghostly laughter, trapped in a maze of mist and darkness. 8. Stonegate Street. The video is edited by the Creepy Experience channel. Stonegate Street, one of York's oldest and most famous streets, is home to many ghosts, but none as chilling as the Lady in the Dark. This spirit is said to be the ghost of a woman who was murdered in the early 1600s after being accused of witchcraft. At midnight, her ghost is said to appear, dressed in dark, tattered clothing, walking silently along the cobbled street. The air grows dense with the scent of burning herbs, and a cold wind often follows in her wake. Those who have encountered her say she stares directly at them, her eyes hollow and unblinking, and some even claim that she speaks in a voice as cold as death itself. The Lady in the Dark has been seen at the exact moment of her death, as if reliving her final moments, and the unfortunate souls who encounter her often experience a deep sense of foreboding and sorrow. Some say that the lady's ghost weeps silently, her cries faintly heard by those passing by, though the sound of her tears vanishes as quickly as it appears. Others claim that her presence brings a sense of impending doom, as if she is somehow linked to a past betrayal that continues to echo through time. On rare occasions, her form seems to flicker in and out of view, vanishing like smoke when touched by light, leaving behind only an overwhelming silence. 9. Athenaeum Lane. Athenaeum Lane, near the ancient abbey in Bury St. Edmunds, is known for its connection to the past. In the 19th century, it was the site of a scholars' club, where intellectuals gathered to debate philosophy and politics. One such scholar, Edmund Hargrave, became obsessed with the occult and summoned forces he could not control. After a botched ritual, Hargrave was found dead in his study, but his spirit did not pass on. Those who walk down Athenaeum Lane at night say they often hear muffled voices debating in a foreign language, or the sound of someone scribbling frantically in a notebook. It is said that Hargrave's spirit still seeks knowledge, searching endlessly for answers he never found in life. On certain nights, it is said that the sound of pages turning, as if flipping through ancient tomes, can be heard drifting from the shadows of the lane. Some who have dared to approach the end of the lane claim to see the faint outline of a man hunched over an open book, his fingers moving rapidly as though possessed by an unseen force. The temperature drops suddenly when this happens, and an overwhelming feeling of isolation falls over anyone who watches. Locals believe that Hargrave's obsession with knowledge left him trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead, forever searching for answers that can never come. 10. Hawks Green Lane. Hawks Green Lane in Staffordshire is famous for its mysterious fogs that roll in every evening, but these fogs hide more than just mist. For over 100 years, locals have spoken of a shrouded figure who appears in the dense fog. This spectre is said to be a former highwayman who was executed for his crimes. The shadowy figure appears at dusk, his face hidden by a dark hood, and often stops passers-by, asking them for directions before vanishing without a trace. Some have claimed to feel an overwhelming sense of dread when they encounter the figure, as if the mere presence of the ghost triggers a rush of memories and fears long forgotten. The air grows unnaturally still, and the sound of wind seems to vanish completely, as if time itself has been frozen. Those who encounter the figure often report a sudden, icy chill that sinks deep into their bones. Some say that the spirit is not merely a highwayman, but a tragic soul, condemned to replay his last moments in an eternal loop. There are even reports of people who have been grabbed by invisible hands, feeling the force of the ghostly figure's touch just before it disappears into the fog, leaving only a faint echo of footsteps behind. 11 Langford Lane, Kidlington. Langford Lane in Kidlington hides a tragic story. In the 1800s, a couple, Eleanor and Thomas, were deeply in love until betrayal tore them apart. One night, Thomas returned home to find Eleanor gone, leaving behind only a cryptic note. Desperate, he searched for years, but his obsession led to madness, and he was found dead by the lane. Every year, on the anniversary of her disappearance, a strange mist rolls down the lane, and footsteps can be heard following those who walk through. Some claim to hear a faint whisper of a woman calling for help, and the air grows heavy with grief. The fog thickens as you walk, and some have felt a warm hand brush their arm, only to turn and find no one there. It is said Eleanor's spirit is trapped, trying to communicate her fate to the living, unable to move on until her lost love is found. Locals believe the mist is not only a sign of sorrow, but a call to uncover the truth of what happened to Eleanor. 12 Rectory Lane. Rectory Lane in Datchworth has a reputation for being a quiet, peaceful place, but it holds a darker, more disturbing history. In the 1700s, the rectory at the end of the lane was home to a clergyman who was suspected of terrible crimes. It is said that the man was involved in secretive rituals, dabbling in dark magic and forbidden knowledge. After his death, strange occurrences began to plague the area. Residents reported seeing a shadowy figure staring out of the window of the old rectory, even though the house had long since been abandoned. Those who have walked by the house late at night often claim to see eyes watching from behind the glass, yet when they look up, there is no one there. The most chilling accounts suggest that the figure in the window is not a ghost, but something far darker, an entity that was summoned during the clergyman's twisted experiments. Some believe the figure is still waiting for someone to come close enough to claim their soul. Others speak of hearing faint whispers of an ancient incantation carried on the wind, as if the very air around the house vibrates with the power of the dark rituals once performed there. It is said that if you stand too long near the window, the figure might reach out and beckon you into the house, where time itself seems to stand still. 13. Helen Lane. Helen Lane in Weymouth has been haunted for centuries, but the most terrifying legend is of the banshee who allegedly resides there. The tale begins in the early 1600s, when a young woman named Helen was wrongly accused of witchcraft. Before her execution, she cursed the land, promising that her spirit would return to warn the living of impending doom. From that day on, residents near Helen Lane have heard a strange, high-pitched wail echoing through the lane on certain nights. The wail sounds like the cry of a woman in intense sorrow, but its effect on listeners is much worse. Anyone who hears it, especially at midnight, is said to be marked by death. Though the victim's demise may not come immediately, it can be months or even years later. People who have heard the cry often report a sudden onset of nightmares or a feeling of unease that lingers in their waking hours. The banshee's wail is said to be both mournful and predatory, a cry for help that turns into a warning of doom. The The few who have heard it say it fills them with an undeniable dread, knowing that something ominous is approaching, perhaps their own fate, sealed by the haunting cry that echoes through the lane for all eternity. 14. The Market Square. The Market Square in Nottingham, a bustling hub of activity during the day, becomes a place of dread when the sun sets. This eerie transformation is tied to the legend of Alice Blackwood, a woman accused of witchcraft during the 17th century. Before her execution, Alice promised that her death would not be the end of her, and she vowed to return from the grave to seek revenge. Since her death, her spectre has been seen in the market square, particularly on nights when the moon is full. Witnesses claim to have seen a shadowy figure draped in a dark cloak, standing silently in the center of the square, her face obscured by the hood. Those who come too close to her are said to feel a sudden cold chill or see fleeting images of their worst fears. Some even claim to have seen Alice herself, standing in front of them, her hands raised in a silent warning. Her presence is said to foretell a tragedy or a terrible event, and many locals avoid the square at night, believing her curse still lingers. The worst part is that those who pass by her spectral form often find themselves inexplicably drawn toward a dangerous, inevitable fate. Perhaps a momentary lapse of judgment or an ill-fated decision, influenced by Alice's vengeful spirit. 15. Guildhall Lane. Guildhall Lane in Leicester is haunted by the ghost of Samuel Lockhart, a cruel 19th-century judge. After his death, his restless spirit is said to wander the lane, silently judging anyone who passes. On foggy nights, a tall figure in a judge's robe appears, his face obscured by shadow, his cold eyes locked onto travelers. He is often heard whispering a chilling request for a ride, though no one can see where his voice comes from. Those who stop for him report feeling an unnerving cold, as though something invisible is gripping their arm. But just before they can offer help, the judge suddenly vanishes, disappearing in the middle of the road, leaving no trace behind. His presence lingers, though, in the heavy silence, as if the very air remembers the judgment he passed. If these eerie tales gave you chills, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Creepy Experience for more stories that'll keep you up at night. Ever walk down a haunted lane yourself? Drop your eerie encounters in the comments below.